There are 4 key steps that we can facilitate clients through to work with family systemic coaching and to catalyze profound insight, shifts in awareness, in understanding, and freedom. This tutorial will outline the 4 steps. This methodology is taught to InnerLifeSkills master coaches as a part of our systemic coaching certification. Step 1 is belonging. The pioneering work of Bert Hellinger brought forth the understanding that as individuals, we were impacted by up to 6, 7 or more generations in our family systems. That in fact, we might be and often are carrying unconscious or conscious burdens from prior generations, loyalties, longings, obstacles, and much more. And that when working and when doing the inner work that could ripple into our systems and give ourselves freedom from these kinds of burdens, that one of the first places to work and to contemplate, to inquire, was around belonging. So what does belonging mean? The deep truth or the big truth is that the wave belongs to the ocean. And then if the wave tries to deny its belonging to the ocean, it causes itself suffering. The deep truth is that we all belong to the river of life. But if that river is filled with pollution, if relationships and family systems have been toxic for us, we might have experienced that we were pushed out of the river, excluded by others, or that we have stepped out of the river in order to protect ourselves. This work is not about collapsing appropriate boundaries. This is also not a therapeutic approach, because I'm bringing this work to you in the context of master coaching, which often complements therapeutic work. In fact, we have many psychologists and therapists who train with InnerLifeSkills to become master coaches. This work is about a conversation where we look at belonging and where we courageously are willing to be vulnerable to acknowledge where we feel that we do not belong. And most importantly, to claim the bigger truth that indeed, no matter what has happened, no matter what the story, the pain, or the struggles, that each of us equally belong to the river of life. And that claiming our full and complete belonging can be profoundly empowering. So when we help our clients to claim their belonging, to give their hearts, their minds, their bodies a full sense of I belong, we give them access to their inner wealth. Because to stand outside of the river of life is to be denied the very strength of our own life force. And we can realize that it is possible to step back into the river but not take its pollution. That we can step back into the river and still be fully ourselves with our own autonomous minds and hearts and destinies. And that leads to the second step, which is placement. And you'll see it goes very well with belonging. We all belong. We have an equal right to belong. We belong to life. We belong to the various groups and to all of our heritages. And yet we belong in the right and true places. Placement is about fact. If I am the firstborn child in my family, factually, my place is as the firstborn, not superior or inferior to any other member of the family or any other siblings. If there was a miscarriage before me, or a stillbirth, or a lost child in any shape or form, I am actually factually the second placed child. These kinds of details and these kinds of facts are often ignored, swept over, or denied, sometimes because of pain and suffering. Placement is about looking at the factual placements. How many children are emotionally parenting a child? How many children actually have become emotional substitutes for a mother or a father? These kinds of situations set up entanglements, and whoever's place we have taken out of love or survival or obligation or need or necessity, whoever's place we have taken, we also unconsciously take those burdens. So if we've become the emotional mother to a mother, we might be taking the burdens of our mothers, etc. So the second part of this systemic coaching work is to explore placement. And through drawing and doodling and masterful coaching questions, we can facilitate a conversation with new insight and understanding around true placement. When we take our true place in the river of life, we are able to be more empowered, strengthened by that river. And that takes us to step 3, burdens. Many of our clients don't want to step back in the river fully, or are used to being in the wrong place because they're entangled with some of the burdens, the pollution in the river. Some, in fact, have stepped out of the river entirely to avoid the toxic emotional pollution that is there. It is possible to hand back known and unknown burdens within ourselves without having to involve any other family member. This is about coaching the handing back of emotional, physical burdens, the unknown and known burdens that we may be carrying, the longing, the fears, the angers, the shames that perhaps belong to a parent or to a prior generation, a grandparent, a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, even a sibling, even a partner. Sometimes out of an act of love, we try to take the burdens of others. But life teaches us that each of us indeed needs to carry our own burdens. This does not mean that we don't offer each other support or compassion. In fact, quite the opposite. We are more capable of doing that when we are looking after our own burdens. What this does mean is that when we hand back people's burdens, we strengthen them, which I know sounds like an impossible contradiction. But think of this little story. There was a little boy who found a moth in a cocoon, and he felt so sorry for the moth that was struggling to get out of the cocoon that he carefully took his penknife and opened the cocoon. And the moth, now free, fumbled around for a little while, and a few hours later went very quiet and died. The little boy, crying, said to his mother, "Mommy, Mommy, why did the moth die?" And the mom explained to the little boy, "My son, nature gave that moth a cocoon to struggle with so that the wings of that moth could become strong, so strong that the moth would be able to break open the cocoon and then be strong enough to fly." Sometimes when we take the burdens of others emotionally, we break open their cocoons prematurely, and in fact, we weaken them. Wisdom can guide us to know how much and when and how to support each other, to offer companionship and to help in meaningful ways without trying to carry each other's burdens. So working with handing back burdens can be some of the most profound work that we as master coaches can ever have the privilege to do. And this leads to gifts. I always teach my master coaches that when our hands are full of burdens, we cannot receive gifts. But finally, if we have worked through step 1, 2, and 3 with belonging, placement, and burdens, we can now facilitate supporting a conversation with drawing and coaching questions and contemplation. We facilitate our clients opening to the gifts of the systems that they belong to, opening to strength, opening to the talents, opening to all of the beauty that life has to give them. This is about stepping in the river of life, knowing that we belong, stepping into our right place, handing back the burdens and cleaning the river of the inner pollution that we find, so that we can open fully to the gifts of that river of life and pass those gifts on. That is the incredible work that is possible when we earn the privilege of changing lives by learning to be master coaches.